If you grew up black in the 70s, you remember when Donny Hathaway's This Christmas came on and Mama stopped everything to turn it up? That was our Black Christmas anthem. But while we were singing along, 25 traditions that built our identity were quietly disappearing. And the first tradition that started disappearing, it changed how our children saw themselves in the magic of Christmas forever. Before the internet, before the big box stores, there was our way of making Christmas magical. And one of the biggest changes happening in black households during the 1970s was something that might seem small but meant everything. Black Santa Claus was finally coming home. Think about this. For generations, our children had been told to believe in a white man who would bring them gifts. But in the 1970s, black families started saying enough. We began putting black Santa figures under our trees, on our mantles, and in our Christmas decorations. This wasn't just about representation. This was about our children seeing themselves in the magic of Christmas. The shift started quietly. Black-owned toy stores began stocking black Santa dolls. Parents would drive across town to find that perfect black Santa for their tree topper. It was revolutionary in the most beautiful way. Now let's talk about the real heart of our Christmas celebrations. The kitchen. Our grandmothers and mothers turned December 25th into a culinary masterpiece that no restaurant could ever replicate. The preparation started days before Christmas. Women would gather in kitchens, sharing recipes passed down through generations. These lived in the hands and hearts of our mothers. Christmas morning meant waking up to honey-glazed ham filling the house. Our Christmas table was survival and abundance all at once. Collard greens simmered with smoked turkey necks. Sweet potato casserole topped with toasted marshmallows. Cornbread dressing that held sage and love. The mac and cheese wasn't just a side dish. It was an art form. Every family had their secret. Some used 3 different cheeses. Others swore by evaporated milk. The crust had to be golden brown but not burned. Too creamy meant you didn't know what you were doing. Too dry meant you didn't care enough. Black-eyed peas weren't optional. They represented prosperity for the coming year. Even when times were tight, those peas made it to the table. The desserts deserved their own table. Sweet potato pie that melted in your mouth. Pound cake so rich it fed 8 people. Red velvet cake with cream cheese frosting. And always banana pudding with vanilla wafers soaked in custard. But here's what made it special. These meals weren't just about food. They were about showing love when money was tight, about creating abundance when the world told us we had less, about gathering family when society tried to scatter us. The women cooked from dawn until every dish was perfect. Men hovered around the kitchen, sneaking tastes and getting slapped away. Children learned recipes by watching and helping. These Christmas feasts were acts of resistance. When the outside world questioned our worth, our kitchens declared our value. When economic hardship tried to diminish our joy, our tables overflowed with richness. Speaking of revolutionary changes, 1970s black families were also discovering something brand new, Kwanzaa. Created in 1966 by Dr. Maulana Karinga, this 7-day celebration was just finding its way into our homes during the decade. For many families, Kwanzaa wasn't replacing Christmas. It was adding depth to our December celebrations. The 7 principles gave us language for values we'd always held. Umoja meant unity. Kujichagulia meant self-determination. These were truths our grandparents had lived without words for them. The Kinara started appearing on mantles next to Christmas decorations. Red, black, and green became colors of pride. Children learned to light candles and recite principles, connecting their identity to something larger. What made Kwanzaa special in the 1970s was how it honored our African heritage while acknowledging our American reality. Families would incorporate traditional African foods, fabrics, and music into their celebrations, but they did it alongside Christmas trees and Santa visits. Kwanzaa gifts focused on books, art, and items celebrating Black culture. Parents gave children books about Black history, handmade items connecting them to heritage, educational toys building pride alongside play. Some churches embraced Kwanzaa. Others were skeptical. But in homes across Black America, families were creating their own blend of traditions. Christmas morning for presents and family. Kwanzaa evenings for reflection and cultural connection. The beauty was in how it complemented rather than competed with existing traditions. Children could believe in Santa and also understand the importance of Ujima, collective work and responsibility. They could sing Christmas carols and also learn African songs. By the end of the 1970s, Kwanzaa had become part of the fabric of Black December celebrations. It gave families a way to honor their roots while building new traditions for their children. Now, let's talk about something that taught us discipline before we even knew what that word meant. Christmas Club savings accounts. Every January, Black families would walk into their local bank and start putting away money for the holidays. Not next month, not when they felt like it. Every single week. Most families were stretching every dollar. But Christmas Club accounts forced us to think 11 months ahead. Every Friday, after cashing that paycheck, a portion went straight into that Christmas fund. The ritual was sacred. You'd get your payment book with 52 coupons. Some families put in $5 a week, others managed 15. The commitment mattered more than the amount. Banks knew our communities well. They'd set up special Christmas Club windows in November, decorated with red and green, making the whole process feel festive. The tellers knew your name, knew your family, knew exactly how much you'd save by October. Children learned by watching. We'd see our parents make those weekly deposits and understand that Christmas didn't just happen. It required planning, sacrifice, and discipline. Some parents would bring us along to make the deposits, turning it into a family lesson about saving and preparation. The beauty was in the forced discipline. You couldn't touch that money until November, no matter what emergencies came up. The bank held it hostage until Christmas season, which meant families had to find other ways to handle unexpected expenses. This taught resourcefulness and community support in ways credit cards never could. When November arrived and those checks came in the mail, it felt like winning the lottery. That Christmas shopping money felt different because it represented sacrifice and foresight. The tradition connected generations. Grandparents who had lived through the Depression understood the value of forced savings. They'd encourage their children and grandchildren to start Christmas clubs, passing down financial wisdom disguised as holiday preparation. By the late 1970s, credit cards and automatic savings programs started replacing Christmas clubs. But for families who lived through the discipline of weekly deposits, the lesson remained: Christmas wasn't just about receiving gifts. It was about planning, saving, and creating abundance through careful preparation. But while we were saving our money, our churches were preparing something even more precious: the Christmas pageant. Every Black church in America turned December into a month-long celebration of faith, talent, and community pride. These weren't simple nativity scenes. They were full productions that would make Broadway jealous. Churches started planning in September, with rehearsals consuming every spare moment until Christmas Eve. Every church wanted the most beautiful, moving Christmas program. Mothers spent weeks sewing costumes, turning bed sheets into angel robes and cardboard into crowns. The church basement became a workshop where creativity met determination. Children practiced their lines until they could recite them in their sleep. The little ones who played angels would rehearse their entrance march dozens of times. The older kids who portrayed Mary and Joseph carried the weight of the entire production on their shoulders. But here's what made these pageants special. They weren't just religious performances. They were celebrations of our children's talents and our community's creativity. When little Keisha stepped onto that makeshift stage as the angel Gabriel, she wasn't just playing a role. She was representing every dream her family held for her future. The music was incredible. Church choirs would spend months preparing special arrangements of traditional carols and contemporary gospel songs. The pianists would practice until their fingers moved like water across the keys. The soloists would rehearse until their voices could fill every corner of the sanctuary. Christmas Eve became the culmination of all this preparation. Families would arrive early to get good seats. Grandparents would bring cameras with flash bulbs that lit up the sanctuary like lightning. Everyone dressed in their finest clothes because this was a celebration worth honoring with our best. The programs themselves were works of art. Hand-typed on church mimeograph machines, they listed every participant, every song, every special recognition. Families kept these programs for years, treasuring them like diplomas. When the curtain opened and those children began their performance, magic filled the room. Nervous giggles from young angels, proud tears from parents, thunderous applause that celebrated not just the performance but the love and effort that created it. These pageants built confidence in our children and pride in our communities. They showed our young people that their voices mattered, their talents were valuable, and their church family would support their dreams. Now, let's talk about Saturday afternoons in December when our living rooms turned into dance floors. Soul Train was our cultural heartbeat. When Don Cornelius announced Christmas specials, families across Black America cleared their schedules. The Soul Train Christmas episodes were different from anything else on television. While other shows featured white performers singing traditional carols, Soul Train gave us Diana Ross, The Temptations, and Stevie Wonder celebrating the season with soul and style that spoke directly to our hearts. We gather around television sets like church service, Mothers Stop Cooking, Fathers Pause weekend projects. Children abandoned toys because Soul Train demanded our full attention. The dancers were everything we wanted to be: smooth, confident, stylish, and proud. They wore the latest fashions with an elegance that made every movement look effortless. When the Soul Train line formed, we jump off our couches and try to recreate those moves in our living rooms. The Christmas episodes featured performances that became instant classics. When Donny Hathaway sang This Christmas, it wasn't just entertainment. It was validation that our version of the holiday season mattered. When the OJs performed their Christmas songs, they did it with a sophistication that proved Black music could be festive without losing its soul. Don Cornelius himself was like a cool uncle who understood our culture and presented it with dignity. His smooth voice and impeccable style made Soul Train feel like a celebration of everything beautiful about Black America. During Christmas episodes, he'd wish viewers happy holidays with a warmth that felt personal and genuine. The show influenced how we dressed for church and family gatherings. If the Soul Train dancers were wearing it, we wanted it too. Platform shoes, wide-leg pants, and colorful shirts became Christmas fashion statements inspired by what we saw on Saturday afternoons. But Soul Train did more than entertain us. It showed the world that Black culture was sophisticated, creative, and worth celebrating. During an era when mainstream media often ignored or stereotyped Black communities, Soul Train presented us with dignity and style. The Christmas specials became annual traditions that connected families across generations. Grandparents who might not understand the latest dance moves still appreciated the music and the pride the show represented. Children learned that their culture was worth celebrating and sharing. Those Saturday afternoons created memories that lasted lifetimes. The music, the dancing, the fashion, and the pure joy of seeing ourselves represented on television during the most magical season of the year. But television was just the beginning of our December celebrations. The real magic happened when entire neighborhoods came together for Christmas block parties that turned ordinary streets into winter wonderlands of community love. These gatherings grew organically from understanding that Christmas was better when shared. One family would suggest it in November. By December, the whole block was involved. The preparation brought out the best in everyone. Mrs. Johnson coordinated food assignments. Mr. Williams handled music setup with speakers heard 3 blocks away. Teenagers organized games for younger children. Every family contributed something special. Some brought their famous dishes that neighbors had been talking about all year. Others provided folding tables and chairs. The musically talented families would bring instruments and lead impromptu sing-alongs that echoed through the December air. The parties usually happened on the weekend before Christmas, when everyone had finished their shopping but hadn't yet scattered to visit extended family. Streets would be closed to traffic, transformed into outdoor living rooms where neighbors became extended family. Children would run freely between houses, knowing they were safe and welcome everywhere. Adults would catch up on the year's events, sharing both struggles and celebrations with people who truly understood their experiences. Elderly neighbors would hold court on lawn chairs, telling stories and dispensing wisdom to anyone willing to listen. The food was incredible because every family brought their absolute best. Tables would groan under the weight of countless dishes, each one representing someone's love and effort. People would try new recipes and discover new favorites, building connections through shared meals. Music filled the air from multiple sources. Someone's stereo would play the latest hits while Uncle James played guitar on his front porch. Children would sing Christmas carols they'd learned in school, while teenagers practiced the latest dances they'd seen on Soul Train. These block parties created bonds that lasted all year. When families faced hardships, they knew their neighbors would help. When celebrations came, the whole community would rejoice together. Christmas block parties reminded us that we were stronger together than apart. The parties usually ended with everyone helping to clean up, extending the community spirit even to the mundane task. Children would be tired but happy. Adults would exchange promises to stay in touch, and everyone would go home feeling more connected to their neighborhood. These traditions didn't just disappear, they evolved, adapted, and found new expressions in our families today. The Christmas clubs became automatic savings plans. The church pageants became youth programs and community theaters. The block parties became family reunions and neighborhood associations. The soul and spirit of 1970s Black Christmas lives on in every family gathering where love overcomes circumstances, where creativity transforms limitations into celebrations, and where community remains stronger than any challenge we face.